Hello, welcome to U.S. History. I made this video if you were absent today or maybe missed part of class to explain what was going on. So I'm going to go pretty fast because you have the ability to pause the video whenever you need to, but I'm going to explain what we did during class and then what you're working on. We did map of the week where you're working on step 2 of your letter, which I'll explain. You already did step 1 before break. We took some notes, which you're going to need to do, and then talked about differences between the North and the South to gear us up for the Civil War. This stuff does not need to be done today. We finished the citing the Constitution in class today, but the other stuff, just by the end of the week, is totally fine if you want to turn that stuff in. Reminders, take a shower, avoid the turkeys, whatnot. So let's talk about the letter to the legislator. This is the letter we're writing, but we're doing it in small increments as we go, so you don't have to do the whole thing at one time. These are just the parts of the letter that we're going to be working on. So we want to make sure our letter is pretty formal and pretty respectful so that the person that gets it will actually read it and respond. So you want to have an introduction which says, hey, I'm a Chippewa middle school student, and you'll get more information with this. No need to memorize this. You have to explain what the issue is, and that's your claim. Like if you want to get rid of homework, you would say, I'm writing to you today to try to get rid of homework, or I'd like to get rid of homework, or things like that. We're going to have 2 pieces of evidence to support your argument. We're going to use the U.S. Constitution to back up our argument because it makes your letter quite a bit stronger, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You need to have an ask for the politician, so ask them for something. So in this case, my example, please get rid of homework. And then you have a formal conclusion thanking them for reading it and signing your name, your school address, and things like that. So we're going to work on today using the U.S. Constitution to make your argument stronger. Let me give you a couple examples why we do that, especially when we're writing to the government. The Constitution is our founding document of the government, and if we use it when we're making our argument, it makes it quite a bit stronger. So if I was trying to get rid of detention, and that's what my letter was about, you could say we should not have detention because it's cruel and mean, which is a valid, good claim. But when you use a document like the Constitution, because the Constitution is so strong and so foundational, it makes your argument quite a bit stronger. So I could say, as it states in Amendment 8 of the U.S. Constitution, you cannot give detention to students because this would be considered cruel and unusual punishment, right? That's a much stronger statement than just saying, it's mean to do. If you use the Constitution, it's a stronger argument. Okay, let's look at my next example. We should, let me see if I can move this up. Hold on. We should have more parks. It's good for people. Okay, that's your claim. We should have more parks. Maybe you write to the city and say that. So here's a stronger argument with the Constitution. The U.S. Constitution states the government should take care of the general welfare of the people, which means they should be happy and healthy. People cannot be healthy and happy if they don't have nature to relax in. Therefore, we need more parks, right? That's a much stronger argument using our Constitution. So for step number 2, one of the things by the end of the week, you need to pick something in the Constitution that's going to help you back up your argument. And then you need to find 2 facts from 2 different sources that are going to help you out. A lot of you can pull from the preamble. The preamble is that first paragraph of the Constitution. A lot of stuff can be covered under general welfare, like the health and happiness of people. You can make a lot of arguments about the general welfare. And I will help you out with this. This can be tough, but I will help you out. We'll have Zoom times Thursday and Friday afternoon, and I'd be very happy to help you pick something out from the Constitution. Otherwise, you're welcome to do it yourself. So let's practice. You're going to practice doing this. One of the assignments in your Google Classroom is called Citing the Constitution. What you're going to do is read through these inaccurate arguments. So like Henry was told he could not vote because he was a former slave, and then figure out what part of the Constitution dispels that or proves it wrong. So I have linked up here U.S. Constitution and the amendments for you. So for instance, it's easier if you start on this right side here. If I look at the 25th Amendment, it's the amendment that tells me that the vice president becomes president if the president can't do his job or dies. So then I would look at the inaccurate arguments and see here that says Bruno Mars says he would be president if Donald Trump had to leave office. So then I would put 25th Amendment, the vice president. So we're using the Constitution to kind of back up our arguments and why that's wrong. So that's the second thing you're going to work on. Now we're going to take some notes. When we left off on before break, we talked about how the U.S. got our land and manifest destiny. And so this is what the land looks like in 1860. The Civil War breaks out in 1861. So we're gearing up to what the country was like before then. We don't have Alaska yet. We don't have the Kingdom of Hawaii yet, but you can see we're starting to establish states. And as you learned in 6th grade social studies, you know you got to be a territory before you become a state. And so we still have territories that were set up. As these territories become states, the country's deciding if they're going to be slave or free states. The blue areas are no slavery, and the red areas allow slavery. And then territories were kind of wishy-washy. You pretty much could have slaves, but sometimes you couldn't. It was really when they became states that they really established it. It was almost like there was two different countries at the time. You had the North and the South. The North was very industrial with textile mills and factories, and the South was mainly based economically on farms. So we had a system of slavery. We had racial slavery in the United States. Slavery is a system that does not pay people and forces you to work. And sometimes I get people, when we start making arguments about slavery, which we're going to do, say, well, they weren't paid very much. No, no, no. They were treated like property and they weren't paid at all. They're being forced to work. And in the United States, we have a particular slavery system called chattel slavery, which is people are born into this system. So our system was based on race, specifically African Americans. And if a slave had a child, then that child automatically became a slave themselves. So I'm going to stop this here because I now have to teach 7th hour, and I will come back to this in just a second.